Hello, I'm John Shepherd and I'm going to talk about a few of the things that I learnt whilst I attended the European Jumps and Sprints Symposium recently in Karlstad, Sweden. The event takes place every 2 years in Sweden and I've been lucky enough to go for the previous 2 times in the last 4 years. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that I've made 3 videos so far from my trip to Karlstad. So we've got Goran on Ivana Spanovic's training, we have Yannick on the takeoff and warming up specifically for the long jump, and Dan Paff on injury rehabilitation and the use of specific dribble exercises, cycling exercises, circular and elliptical for bringing back an athlete to fitness safely. Okay, let's start with Goran. Now, he also did a presentation on what's known as tonus. Now, tonus training is using weights and plyometrics, for example, to create a certain type of muscle tone and feeling within the athlete's muscles for competition. It's done to enhance the competitive outcome. So Goran went through a number of workouts that Ivana does prior to competition. Now, he has tonus sessions for different types of competition. He has those for when there's a qualifying round and a final, and those for when there's just a final, for example. And he's found that this creates the right muscle tone for her to maximise her performance. Tonus can also be a potentiating methodology in that it can also prime the neural system, the muscles and the mind for the subsequent competition. So you can combine weights and plyometrics into a tonus session, which also has a potentiating effect. Now, you need to practice and work out what works for you initially in training. Obviously, you don't want to do what could be a heavyweight training session for you the day before a competition in the hope that it will improve your performance. You could do it, for example, before certain training sessions, perhaps technical and sprint ones, where you may be looking to get a heightened response. So this will be a close match to what you would expect in a competition environment. Incidentally, Goran explained that he'd rather have Ivana losing a little bit of speed as a result of the tonus session the day before a competition than going into the competition with more speed. This, I believe, is because she uses a lot of strength to power off the takeoff. We talked about her specific takeoff mechanics in another video, and Goran actually talked about this in Karlstad. She likes to feel strong and ready and powerful for the competition, and this is where this tonus training comes in. Legendary coach Dan Paff always has a lot of interesting material to share with coaches.
Probably 90% of the sprinters that are world-class men and women, the heel actually touches the ground before they pronate.
Now, I've made a long-form video on Dan's presentation, his practical presentation from Karlstad, which you'll find on the channel. However, I will explain about some of the things that he talked about in regards to injury rehabilitation and the use of a rolling action of the foot on contact when doing dribbles. So initially, he'd be starting with circular movements with the heel hitting the ground and then progressing once the athlete was recovered enough from the injury to more elliptical movements, again with a heel strike. Now this, he believes, stimulates the healing process not only in the joint affected, but for example the ankle, but across the body, for example having a potential effect on the spine and freeing up the musculature in that area too. So it's a very interesting, thought-provoking presentation. I've tried a few of the drills with my athletes in their warm-ups and as part of their sessions, as Dan actually explains that the heel first rolling motion can also be of benefit as a means to improve sprint technique. One of the highlights for me was Yannick's practical presentation on the long jump takeoff and specific warm-up methods. Yannick has coached numerous top quality athletes, including Christian Olsen, the triple jumper who jumped nearly 18 metres, and he currently coaches Tobias Montler, who's jumped over 8 metres 20, another Swedish athlete. Out in Karlstad, Yannick's presentation showed a number of inflections on the takeoff and the setup for the long jump, the penultimate step. And we've been trying in training some of the ideas that he suggested. For example, a higher arm action and lift for the takeoff movement. We're also performing some of the penultimate step drills where the emphasis is placed on a quick strike and a push in. So more of a push-pull methodology for the takeoff, the penultimate step and takeoff, whereas I tend to use a more passive flat foot hip movement transition into the takeoff. And it'll be interesting to see which of those methods work. As a coach, and this applies to everything that you learn, whether going to a convention, watching this video or others on YouTube or reading a book, you need to work out what specifically works for your athlete. Don't just blindly follow something that you've seen, because not everything is going to work. Hopefully this brief overview of some of the key messages that I took home from my trip to Karlstad at the European Jumps and Sprints Symposium will also help you and your coaching and training. As usual, do subscribe to the channel and good luck with your training and competition, and do leave any comments you may have in the section below or through my other social media. Carried away a little bit and I ended up producing this, which is the Jumper magazine. Many of you have asked me about my training philosophy and whether I'd write anything down regarding that, and also perhaps share some of my thoughts on other subject matter pertaining to the long and triple jump and sprints. I produced a magazine, a digital magazine format. Located within the document are also some videos that illustrate some of the topics that I've been writing about. To get a hold of this, all you need to do is go to the link in the description of this video and click on it, and it will download as a web document initially onto your iPad, tablet, phone, computer, but you're also able to download it as a PDF and the links will still work. Potentially I'll do another Jumper magazine when I've got the time, and it would be good to have your support so we can really grow it into a great resource for the jumps community.